resumes nowadays are a little bit boring. And to be fair, I knew I had to go this route because my resume from my previous corporate job, if I had sent that to the gym pod, I think it would have gotten lost in the system. They would have been like, thanks for submitting, but not right now. And I knew that I had to get creative and show them what I could bring to the business, because my previous experiences didn't really hold much value. And I think it also shows that you care.
Peter Lam is a brand and partnerships executive at the Gym Pod, a fitness and tech startup that is looking to revolutionize the way we think about fitness in the future. He is also the founder of Green Guards, which makes soccer shin guards using 100% recycled materials. Peter also wants to continue to find ways that we can leverage the power of sports to educate the public about sustainability. Peter, I'm so glad that you could join us in this podcast where we can talk about your career, and thank you for joining me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm very excited. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So, Peter, why don't we just start off by sharing with us a little bit about how you're doing right now, ever since you've shared your story on the Learning Show, which is also another podcast on with JJ. And yeah, tell us a little bit more about what happened. What updates do you have since that podcast?
Definitely. So obviously one of the biggest contributing factors of change in my career space has been COVID hitting, right? So when I spoke with JJ about the Gym Pod, I think we were close to about like somewhere around the range of 4 to 6 gym pods. Then of course we're coming out of circuit breaker. COVID has drastically and luckily helped our business because obviously people are very conscious about having their own personal space when they work out, and being more health conscious as well, right? So our demand for pods has significantly increased. So now we're at about 15 different locations, and my job has now turned a little bit to now just aggressively trying to find more locations to launch pods. So it's been a very, very busy period over the past few months, but in a really exciting way, and we're really, really pleased for what 2021 has in store for us.
Wow, that sounds great. So the startup right now is in growth mode, and you're looking to expand on building more pods around the island, right?
That's right. Yeah, and we're also just trying out different concepts that we want to. I guess basically, when we first started our original model, we started attracting the people who are really, really shy. They've never worked out in another gym before. Now we're starting to acquire people who just don't want to be in these big box gyms anymore. So it's not so much only the beginner people in the gym. We're starting to get these more intermediate and advanced level people. So we're looking to experiment with different equipments, maybe some class-based varieties. So a lot of ideas for next year, but yeah, definitely a lot more locations to come.
Sounds exciting. So I just want to follow up on some of the points that you mentioned in the episode that you did with JJ. So basically, you left your job in the US, you came over to Singapore, you bought a one-way plane ticket, and then you shared about how you eventually got a job at the Gym Pod. Rather, it's a startup, right? So you shared about how you convinced the founders to take you on to join the team. Can you tell me a bit more about the process? Because it sounds really interesting about how you landed this job, and now it's doing great, right? You're excited about it, and it's growing. So it really did pay off, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you're right. I came here on a one-way ticket, and my mindset was basically I need to find some sort of startup that is intriguing to me, and somewhere that I can see long-term growth for the business and myself, of course. And so very quickly I found the Gym Pod on just some blog, and kind of like researched the business model and really fell in love with it. And I thought that this is something that I could bring a lot of value to. And so what I want to do is I actually started going to the pods, and I would wait outside and I would wait for people to come out, and I would just survey them. What do you think about the pods?
Wow.
What else do you want to see? Starting to get some customer feedback.
Hmm.
I compiled their feedback and, of course, my own research, and created a portfolio, so to speak. And I found this really interesting idea on the internet, of like a creative resume, so to speak. And I basically recreated their website. So if you go to the Gym Pods website, you'll find 3 selling points. It's privacy, convenience, and peace of mind.
Hmm.
And so for my creative resume, I basically tried to mimic it, and I instead made it 3 reasons why they should hire me. Um, and well, it's been a while since I revisited that, but
Yeah.
overall, the gist was that I can really put myself in customers' shoes and try to build an experience in the product with them in mind. And so at the end of the day, we are building these gym pods for customers, right? And so if we're not constantly reaching out to them and listening to what they think of the pods, what else they want to see in the pods, what things can be changed and improved, the product will eventually become obsolete. So I really enjoy this role where I can actively talk to our customers, survey them, do a little bit of research, and then at the same time, actually influence and build things that we'll see in real life. There's no waste here. And sometimes, in my previous experience in jobs, you do a lot of thinking, and there's not actually any fruition of those ideas. So I think that we have we're unique in the sense that whatever we hear from customers, we just do it, we just try it, and I like that testing and learning.
Okay. So you were into startups. You wanted to find some long-term growth in your career, and you are a fitness junkie as well, right? Apparently, you would test out the gym pods as well, and because you're also a founder of you produce your own recyclable shin guards. So it means you play soccer, right? That's one of the
Yes.
sports that you do. Okay. So between finding a normal job and those on the job boards and just going to startups, why did you go specifically into startups?
So it's kind of to elaborate on like my previous point is I really wanted to join a small team where I knew that I could have a significant impact in what the business was outputting to the public. Um, I For me, I really like to see tangible results from my work. So my last job, you put in so many hours, and when I look at it from taking a step back, it's like this company this is what they offer, and I have no idea actually what my day-to-day work has um, as an impact. And I felt very lost in the system and kind of insignificant. And it took a toll on me mentally. So with startups, I feel that if I have a good idea, I'm going to pitch it, and if I think it has value, we're going to try it. Um, and yeah, I think it's very cool now to open the Gym Pod app, and I'll say, oh yeah, that was my idea, and people love that. Or we launched new pods, and we're like, oh, maybe we should tweak this piece of equipment and place this instead, and people love it. So I think that's cool, seeing like my ideas in certain places, and showing like real valuable results for customers and for the business. So I think that's the draw for me, being able to really have an impact on the business.
Okay, so you wanted to have more control over what you do, and you want to see results on that because you
That's
were
right.
back in the US. You were in a large corporation as a analyst at with lots of people around, and you were kind of like doing a micro thing out of the whole big picture of why the
Exactly.
institution exists. Okay, so you came to Singapore, and the gym pod caught your attention. And you said that you came across a creative resume example that you found online. Could you tell me a bit more about that?
Yes. Yeah. So I think the person you actually are familiar with her. Her name is Vanessa Lau. She's from Canada,
Yeah.
and was also in consulting background. And then she actually just quit her job and is now teaching people like millennials how to quit their job and have some sort of digital career. That's like her spiel.
Mhm.
So I don't know too much of her content, but this particular video that she created, a friend of mine had sent me, and it's just how to catch the employer's attention for a job interview.
Mm.
And her creative resume idea was to basically create some sort of portfolio that looks like the company's website or something of that nature, but essentially she's really just trying to show you how to stand out, because resumes nowadays are a little bit boring. And to be fair, I knew I had to go this route because my resume from my previous corporate job, if I had sent that to the gym pod, I think it would have gotten lost in the system. They would have been like, thanks for submitting, but
Mm.
not right now. Um, and I knew that I had to get creative and show them what I could bring to the business, because my previous experiences didn't really hold much value. And I think it also shows that you care. I'll tell you now, like sometimes we interview people, and sometimes resumes come in and it's impressive, and then we ask the next question, is it really a good fit for us, and are they going to like the business and working with us too, right? Because that's super important.
Mm.
I put a huge value on that as well. So when it comes to creative resumes, I think that you need to add that extra X factor to say, yes, I want this job, but this company means something to me, um, rather than just showing up day to day and collecting paychecks, because that's not really sustainable in the long run.
Mm.
So, when you see people putting in the extra time and effort to create these creative resumes, so to speak, they definitely stand out more.
Okay.
So,
I want to zoom in on the process of you doing that entire creative resume, right from the day you saw Vanessa Lau's video, your friend sent you that, you had a great idea. Wow, this is so exciting. And then, what happened after that? You thought of some ideas, and then between the time that you thought of the idea and the day you finally submitted that creative resume, how long did that take you, and what happened throughout the
okay, good
process? Yeah.
question. So I think from the day I saw the video up until when I actually pitched it, it was probably about a 3 to 4 week process. Um, so 1 to 2 weeks was really just kind of doing some research in the fitness space and seeing some other gyms, what they have to offer, and just really thinking hard of like what if I were to join the team, what are my recommendations to help the business. So that was about 1 to 2 weeks of kind of ideating on that. Um, then that was when I started like just traveling to the pods, talking to people. Um, that was probably about another week or so, and it was a little bit daunting as well. Like I'll be honest, like
Mm.
uh, I definitely got some strange looks when I was just sitting outside, and then someone's walking out,
I was
and
like,
I'm
who
just
are
like,
you?
"Hey, like, can I talk to you for 2 minutes?" And they were
Okay.
just like a little bit shocked. So
Yeah.
that was pretty funny.
Mhm.
But yeah, I asked them some questions, collected their ideas, then tried to think about based off this feedback, what do I want to recommend,
Mm.
um, and then the last week or so was just kind of like tidying up the website. I don't really have much digital editing skills, but I was just building it on my personal blog. So uh, after that, I had just shot off an email to the entire team, and basically just said, "Hey, like I love what you guys are doing. I have some great ideas, and I want to share. Like, do you want to get coffee?" And yeah, just crossed my fingers at that point. Then luckily, Damien, the founder, saw my email. We got coffee. We chatted for a bit. Um, I shared my ideas, of course, and then he presented some problems to me as well, and like asked me what I thought. And then that turned into a kind of a series of, I think, maybe one or two more chats. And then I eventually got onboarded onto the team.
Nice.
But I think what should be emphasized
Mm.
is, again, I mentioned the creative resume is a way to stand out, right?
Yeah.
To show that you really care about the business. But I think what was more key for him was, once he presented me real problems that he's currently facing, that was when you have to be prepared for that and be ready on the spot. So, um, yeah, fortunately, I think I passed the test, but yeah, it was quite an experience for me because you don't know anyone at all, and you're just kind of like shooting off a bunch of information, and
Hmm.
you have no idea how they're going to receive it. So
Hmm.
um,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So just one more point about the process. You basically spent 4 weeks to prepare a resume instead of 1 minute, which you already have. The usual way of sending resumes is just send a resume that I already have. It takes me 1 minute to just send an email. But instead, you ideated and you thought about how you can add value to show your interest about it, about the opportunity to talk to the founders and get them interested in what you're doing, and also to show that you're really interested in the customers and you want to add value to the website as well. Then how did you feel throughout this process? Right, because you had some daunting periods of time as well. You talk to the customers and they were giving you some weird looks. What kept you
Mhm.
going through those ups and downs?
Um, I would say it's two things. So one, I was just kind of embracing the challenge. Obviously, this was the period when I had just moved to a new country, and was just kind of like motivated to succeed. And I don't really know at the moment. I didn't know what succeed meant, but I was just like, I'm gonna find some sort of job, and I'm gonna make it work somehow, one way or another. Um, so I was just kind of embracing the challenge at that point in time. The second one is just that I was really just truly intrigued by the product. And I remember, this, I was, meeting some new friends, and we would go out to eat, and they're so what are you doing here, man?
Mhm.
And I was just like, dude, I'm ready. I'm preparing to, reach out to this one startup. This is what they do. And I would show them, I was like, here's my resume so far. And I would get some feedback, and these guys were like, wow, this is crazy. This is cool. Like, I can't believe you're doing this. So as I started getting feedback from them as well, I was like, okay, this seems like it could work.
Hmm.
But yeah, I felt very optimistic during this period. Like yeah,
Okay.
I guess I was bouncing between two different extremes. Like, sometimes I was like, this is like, I have no idea if it's going to work. But then when
Yeah.
I was getting more feedback from others, I was like, okay, maybe I'm on the right track. So I was just kept going with it.
Okay. So you did have some feelings that it might not work on one extreme, and then you talk to your friends, and they gave you some positive feedback, which helped you to
Right.
bounce back to the positive extreme, which is, yeah, this is gonna work, right? I'm gonna get this.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there,
Pretty
there were
funny.
some thoughts that, it's so much work. What if it doesn't work out and all that? But you were able to quickly bounce back, which is great. Which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because this is one of the things that I'm also considering whether it would work if it's for large corporations, meaning they
Mm.
have job boards already, and all they want from you is a resume at this stage, and recruiters, HR are looking at it. Um, so I was considering, what if we sent in more than just a resume? What if we did the exact same approach that you did, but instead for a large company? Um, how would you approach that hypothetically? Right? Let's say if you were to apply to one of your favorite institutions,
Mm.
would you do the same?
Uh, it's that's a good question. I would encourage it. I think actually one of the challenges that uh, would be presented is actually I feel that maybe sometimes the corporations actually don't give enough information of a certain role. Because when I did apply for my previous jobs, when I was doing these just mass, resume sending, I half the time I didn't really understand fully what I was applying for, right? And I think a lot of new grads fall into this problem as well. They just
Mm,
need to get a job, so they just apply, 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 and then yeah, sometimes they don't really understand what kind of role they're accepting. So I definitely think you can still have this kind of creative resume approach for a large corporation, um, but that also means the job descriptions and the listings need to provide more information as well. Because sure, you can do your research on a company from their website and all these sorts of things, but when you apply for a certain role, you're probably going to be in a small piece of a huge
mm,
ecosystem, right?
mm.
So to have a creative resume, you would want to know more information of that specific ecosystem as well, and what kind of impact that has on the entire corporation. Um, like uh, my previous role, of course, after working there for 2 years, I understand what the value was. So if I thinking back now, I could come up with some sort of creative resume to land a job in that seat. Um, but that would be drastically different than if I were to have just done a creative resume on like the corporation's website, because it's so generic, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think that it would be extremely valuable for people to use creative resumes for a large corporation. But I think corporations should also uh, be a little bit more informational in terms of how they list jobs. That's my opinion.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, there's a limitation to how much they can really
Of
share
course, yeah.
about the job itself. Okay, so creative resumes, while they are effective, could be limited for larger corporations because you can do a ton of research, but you may not be able to find some internal information about the job itself. And a creative resume would only be effective if the content is very specific to the job that they are
Right,
looking for. Got it.
right. That's my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, no, I can agree with that, um, because some HR might, some executives or the people who screen the resumes, they might see that, oh, this person did a interesting presentation that looks like an investor's presentation, almost like a pitch deck of the entire corporation. But then if I were to put 10 hours or 4 weeks of time into that presentation, that practically talks about a company in general, but it doesn't really talk about a role, it at least shows that I'm interested in the company and I've put in a lot of work about that, and the work is original. But then I would also um, be in that be oscillating between the two extremes of, oh, whether it will work or whether it will not work, whether is it worth it or whether is it not worth it,
Right.
right? Okay. So, so what happened after that, right? You talked to the founders. You went for a coffee chat with him, and apparently you hit it off quite well with him, right? How did you feel throughout that process?
Um, Definitely a bit nervous. When he presented me with one of the business problems, uh, I actually can't quite recall how I responded on the spot.
Mm.
I just kind of like splattered out all these random ideas, and I'm not sure how he received it, but um, I think overall he definitely understood that I was heavily invested in the business. Um, what so this is my perspective actually.
Okay.
When I interview other people as well, I just try to get a grasp of how much Gym Pod really means to you, because that was what I was trying to convey to Damien. Whether or not you have the right answer or an answer on the spot is not so important to me. It's like, are you going to find a way, right? So
Mm.
showing that commitment. So I think that's why over a series of chats, eventually he was convinced that I could contribute, because even now sometimes he'll present me with a problem and I'm like, let me think about it, and I'll find a way.
So what were his initial comments on your pitch deck when you first met up with him?
Um, I think it was well received. It was just now he was like, okay, so like, what do you think about this problem now?
I'm so glad that it worked out for you. Um, so would you encourage your friends and the people you know to try this approach?
Um, I would, but there's a level of risk, of course, with it. I don't always advocate for quitting your job and trying to land a job at a startup, because obviously some people do like job security and
Mm.
all that sort of thing. Um, I I'm definitely a little bit unique in the sense that I was on a journey to really just find some sort of career that I was really passionate about. And of course, that also means taking a significant salary cut from what I was earning from my last job. Um, but for me, that's totally okay, because I thoroughly enjoy waking up and working on the gym pod. Whereas my previous job, you wake up, you sit in traffic for like an hour and a half, you sit in your cubicle, and I was really just not enjoying life,
Mm.
and not producing good work. Now, pay is, of course, still important, but not the primary factor of my job satisfaction. I like solving the problems that come in every single day. I like coming up with new innovative solutions that we can try for the future. Um, these are the things that excite me. So I would say, if you are not satisfied with your current role, and you understand that pay is not the primary factor for your job satisfaction, then definitely try this. But maybe do it in the background. You don't have to like necessarily quit your job and move to another country either.
All right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I like to try extremes, I guess.
Okay. So, Peter, what does a career mean to you right now at this stage? And how has that definition changed before and after you applied for this, before and after you entered the gym pod?
Mm. So I think coming out of school, career to me was just something that was just the natural next like step in your life. You finish school, you get a job, and you go on with your daily life. And uh, I think I mistakenly, considered it as just something to do or something that you needed to do. So I said, yeah, let me send off all these resumes. Whoever hires me, great, and I'll go on with my life. Then I realized, no, like I have so many more years of my life to live, and if I'm going to spend this much time working, it needs to be something meaningful to me. Um, so now working at the gym pod, I recognize like, this is something that I have a passion for. Like, something that's very interesting actually is like, previously a lot of people talk about work-life balance. Like, sometimes you shouldn't mix, work and personal life. I don't think there's a right answer, so to speak. But for me, work-life balance, I work pretty much every single day, even weekends. I was working a little bit before we hopped onto this podcast, but that's okay to me because uh, I'm lucky in the sense that the gym pod is something that fits into my daily lifestyle. And like I can work, and then sometimes I want to book a session at the gym pod, so I'll just go to the gym for a little bit too. Um, I don't really differentiate between work and personal life because it kind of like intermingles. But for me, that's like a happy marriage.
Mm.
So a lot of people will have a job and they'll say Friday at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. I'm done. Don't talk to me until Monday, right?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. For me, it's a little bit different. I'm like I actually Sundays are my favorite days because I just go to a cafe and I'll just do a lot of work, and it's relaxing. I enjoy several coffees and I'll just work. But it's something that I really enjoy, right? So my career now is like just something that I'm happy to dedicate, a lot of my personal time to just build. I consider the gym pod, like uh, something like very sacred to me, almost.
No.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I think career means something like that I want to spend, all of my time happily working on. Right? It's not just a task.
Mm. Okay. So the definition of career in the past was just applying for jobs and hopefully someone hires you and then you just get on with your life and just do it over and over again. But then now it's a career means that you're doing work that you enjoy, and that's the difference. The work that you
That's
enjoy.
right. That's
Okay.
right.
So, what do you observe about the careers of other millennials around you, and what kind of advice would you give them if they find themselves stuck in doing work they don't exactly enjoy?
I would just say like the advice I give to my peers at least is just a lot of my friends who are also analysts or consultants, whatever. They seem to get comfortable very fast, and then it just turns into kind of like day to day, just like I have to just show up to be here because this is my job, and they don't necessarily enjoy it. So I guess to circle back to your previous question, like do I encourage people to do what I did? Not necessarily. You don't need to quit your job and find another startup, but I think what you do constantly need to do is internally like look at yourself and your career and be like, am I really happy in this position? And if I'm not challenged, then how do I either like talk to management to figure out like what my next job should be, or look somewhere else. Um, I yeah, I'm really not an advocate for just sitting in a seat, just for the sake of it. Um, I think you should always be providing some sort of value to your company, um, and they should always be actively challenging you as well. It should be give and take from both sides. So yeah, I mean even within the gym pod itself, my role from when I first joined to my role now is totally different. Um, but Damien has done a great job like talking to me like what do you want to work on, and I told him I was like I want to do this, and my role has tweaked, so to speak, to focus on that one type of thing.
Mm.
So there needs to be active feedback all the time, you know, uh, which starts with your own internal reflection, but then having the courage to like speak up and say I don't want to do this anymore, or I'm going to move on. Um, you should always continue to challenge yourself, and progress. Otherwise, yeah, you turn into a bit of a zombie.
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to be a zombie. Okay, so it's great that right now you have found work that you enjoy. So what is the next thing that you want in your career, and what are you doing to get there?
The next thing I want in my career is it has changed a bit because of COVID. Actually, my like number one goal actually is to continue to work, but just travel the world while doing it. Um, Fortunately, the gym pod is super cool because we don't have to be in the gym to work. We just need a laptop, right? We have an office, but we don't even show up every single day. Most of the work is remote, so that's why, interestingly enough, like when COVID hit, my work culture was not shattered completely because I was used to being at home or somewhere just working from a computer. Um, but that being said, of course, it's not so safe to travel anymore. My number one dream is like I can be on a beach in Thailand and still like doing my work, and then the next week I'll fly off to like Australia and I'll do something else. That's my dream. That would be my future dream. I don't know when that can be attainable now.
So it sounds like you want to take Gympod onto the international stage and set up Gympods everywhere in the world so that you can just go over
Yes.
there as and when you need. And the kind of lifestyle that you just described to me sounds like being a digital nomad. Have you heard of that
Yes.
term before?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So
That's correct.
a digital nomad is basically someone who doesn't really have a fixed home in a country and just travels around with a laptop and works along the way.
Right.
Why are you so attracted to this lifestyle? What makes it so attractive to you?
One is just my curiosity and like love for travel. I love to see new places. And then two is just being flexible and exploring a bit. I mean, so I guess, so to speak, I live a digital nomad life here in Singapore. Every single day, I'll just jump to a new cafe and I'll work here, and sometimes I'll work from my bed. Then other times, I'll be in the office. I like to just go where I feel comfortable on that particular day, and that kind of translates to the digital nomad life as well. I'm very random in in my sense of like desire to do certain things. So um, yeah, I don't like the idea of being stuck in one particular spot for too long. So
Hmm.
that's why I like the nomad life.
Nice. Well, it's great that opportunities like this exist today in our world that probably didn't exist 20 years ago during our parents' era. Um, and interestingly, millennials like us can make a career out of this, and certainly you're already on track of doing that. When you first bought that one-way plane ticket from the US to Singapore, right? And then you started to interview some of the Gympod's customers. Practically, that itself can be treated as work because you're already out there working your way to create a creative resume and solving some of the existing problems in the business already.
Hmm,
Okay,
correct.
so just to sum it up, um, how would you define work that you enjoy, and how would you separate that from work that you don't enjoy?
For me, it is very simple in the sense that if I'm willing to, work late night after hours, like in the middle of the night or spend my Saturdays and Sundays doing it. That that is that in a gist, that's what it is, right? For me, uh, my last job, I kind of turned into that person where it was like, once I leave the office, I'm kind of done with work. I'm gonna live my life and do what I need to do outside the office. And if you have more work for me, I'll do it when I return to the office in the morning. Now it's like, if something goes wrong from the business at the gym pod, it's like, this is really going to impact us, and that means something to me. So I got to fix this right away. So uh, yeah, it's like I'm willing to spend my me time to help the business.
Okay, great. Peter, I'm so glad that you could join me in this podcast, and thank you so much for joining us in the show. Where can people find you to talk more about, to just connect with you and learn more about your experiences?
Good question. The best place would probably just be LinkedIn. You can just shoot me a message there. I'm pretty receptive to anyone who reaches out on LinkedIn. So yeah, connect with me, and I'm always open to chat like this. And especially, actually, if you have a small business, I love just kind of like sharing ideas and helping people kind of like figure out some problems that they're working on. So if you want to talk, let's talk.
All right. Thanks for joining me on this show, Peter, and I look forward to talk to you again.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Andrew.